Let me ask you something, and I want you to listen, not just with your ears, but with the stillness inside you. Have you ever stumbled upon a truth so sharp, so dangerous, that even speaking it felt like lighting a fire under everything you thought was real? I'm not talking about a theory or opinion. I mean a truth so personal, so piercing, that it split your reality in half and revealed just how much of your life was built on illusion. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you speak it, you can't ever take it back. What I'm about to share isn't for the curious or the careless. It's not for those who speak just to be heard. This is for the one who walks alone, who studies in silence, who sharpens their soul in solitude. The world tells you truth is light, but the kind of truth I'm talking about doesn't just shine, it burns. And if you're not ready for it, it won't just break you, it will break everything. So remember this: when a truth changes you from the inside out, when it unlocks something raw and untamed within you, don't throw it to the world. Let it live in your actions. Let it shape your silence. Because some secrets once spoken don't set you free. They set everything on fire. 1. The world doesn't reward truth. It punishes it. You might think that truth is something everyone wants, that if you speak honestly, openly, and fearlessly, people will appreciate you for it. That if you just tell them what's real, what's raw, what's actually happening beneath the surface, they'll be grateful to you for waking them up. But in reality, it doesn't work that way. Most people are not looking for truth. They're looking for comfort. They don't want to be challenged. They want to feel safe, even if it means living in denial. They build their lives around beliefs, habits, and assumptions that help them avoid pain and responsibility. And when you bring them a truth that threatens that safety, they won't welcome it. They'll fight it. The deeper the truth is, the more uncomfortable it becomes. If your truth exposes the lies they've been telling themselves, if it forces them to question who they are or what they've built their life around, they won't thank you, they'll resist you, they'll call you arrogant, negative, or even dangerous. They'll label you as the problem, because accepting your truth would mean they have to change. And change is something most people run from, not toward. That's why the wise are careful with their words. They don't speak truth just to be heard. They don't throw their insights into the wind, hoping someone will catch them and understand. They know that some truths are like fire, too hot for those still wrapped in dry lies. So they speak only when necessary, only when silence would do more harm than the truth itself. Because they understand something very important. The world doesn't reward you for seeing clearly. It often punishes you for it. And if you speak your truth without thinking, if you reveal what's inside you to people who aren't ready to hear it, you don't just risk being misunderstood. You risk being attacked. You risk losing your peace. You risk being turned into a target. So remember this: the truth doesn't always need to be defended. It doesn't need you to fight for it. What it needs is for you to live it, to embody it, to walk with it, even when it costs you everything. Because the moment you speak it carelessly, you might not just lose control of your message, you might lose control of your life. 2. Power unshared is power multiplied. In today's world, people are constantly encouraged to share everything: their thoughts, their goals, their ideas, their dreams. Social media has trained us to believe that speaking out loud is the same as making progress, that telling everyone what we're working on somehow brings us closer to achieving it. But the truth is the exact opposite. The more you share your power before it has matured, the more you weaken it. Unshared power, when kept quietly within, doesn't die, it grows stronger. Think of your inner truth, your new realization, your evolving mindset as a flame. When you keep that flame protected, when you let it glow silently inside of you, it heats up your soul, strengthens your focus, and fuels your discipline. But the moment you expose it to the outside world too soon, before it's fully developed, you risk letting the wind of others' opinions, doubts, and judgments blow it out. Not everyone deserves to see what you're building. Not everyone will understand the depth of what you're discovering, and some won't just misunderstand it. They'll try to steal it, criticize it, or use it against you. True power isn't loud. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't beg to be noticed. Real power grows in silence. It sharpens in solitude. The strongest warriors throughout history were not the ones who spoke the most. They were the ones who trained while the world was asleep, the ones who didn't announce their every move, the ones who let their transformation be felt through presence, not performance. When you hold your truth inside of you, when you allow it to fuel your actions without needing to explain it to others, it becomes solid. It becomes yours. It roots itself in your behavior, in your habits, in the way you carry yourself. You become more focused, more centered, more untouchable. But when you talk too much about it, when you constantly explain yourself, when you feel the need to tell others how much you've changed or what you're about to do, you give away pieces of that power. And with every piece you give away, you become a little less dangerous, a little less clear, a little more vulnerable. So understand this. You don't need to tell everyone what you're becoming. You don't need to explain your path. You don't need to post your progress. The world doesn't need an update. Let them feel your silence. Let them wonder where you went, only to find out that you didn't disappear. You were just evolving in silence. The loudest voice isn't the most powerful one. The most powerful one is the voice you don't hear, but you feel. The presence that doesn't speak, but you respect. And the soul that doesn't boast, but you can't ignore. Keep your power private. Let it grow unseen, because when it's finally ready, it won't need an introduction. 3. People will use your truth against you. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that not everyone has good intentions. You might be someone who speaks from the heart, who shares your thoughts with honesty, who opens up because you believe in truth and connection. But the harsh reality is, the more truth you reveal, especially about yourself, the more you give others the tools to hurt you. Not everyone listens to understand. Some listen to collect ammunition. When you share your truth, your struggles, your breakthroughs, your inner thoughts, with people who lack empathy, maturity, or wisdom, they don't hold that truth with care. They don't protect it like something sacred. Instead, they store it. They remember what makes you vulnerable. They take note of what scares you, what angers you, what drives you. And when the time comes, they'll use it against you, not to help you grow, but to gain control over you or to bring you down. This is why you must learn the art of discernment. Not every person deserves access to your inner world. Not every listener is safe. Your truth is sacred. It's something you earned through your experiences, your pain, your self-reflection, your journey through darkness. And when you give it away freely to just anyone, you expose yourself to unnecessary danger. You open the door for manipulation, judgment, betrayal, and misunderstanding. Some people will act like they care, like they support you, like they're rooting for your growth. But the moment your truth threatens their ego or their comfort, they will turn it around and make it a weapon. You'll find your deepest confessions being twisted into accusations. Your honesty used to discredit you. Your vulnerability used to embarrass you. It's not fair, but it's real. And the wise understand that protection of one's truth is part of self-respect. Silence, in this sense, becomes a form of strength. When you don't share everything, when you keep your soul guarded, you remain in control. You give others nothing to distort, nothing to attack, nothing to use against you. You maintain mystery, you maintain inner power, and you create a boundary that says, my inner world is mine, not something for public consumption. There's an illusion that openness always equals strength. But real strength isn't about showing everything. It's about knowing when and where to show it, and who deserves to see it. Your growth doesn't need to be explained to people who haven't earned your trust. Your pain doesn't need to be narrated to people who will never understand it. Your healing doesn't need to be performed for anyone's approval. Keep it private. Keep it sacred. You are not obligated to bleed in front of people who would walk away while you suffer. You are not here to educate those who will only use your story to feed their ego. You are not weak for staying quiet. You are wise, and wisdom understands that some truths are not meant to be spoken out loud. They are meant to be lived in silence, protected like treasure, and guarded like fire. So before you speak, ask yourself, is this person safe? Have they earned the right to know this part of me? Will they honor it, or will they weaponize it? If the answer is no, then walk away with your silence intact. Because when your truth becomes a weapon in the hands of the wrong person, it doesn't just hurt, it can destroy everything you've worked to build. Choose your silence like you choose your sword, not out of fear, but out of power. 4. Truth spoken to the wrong soul becomes noise. There's something you must understand about truth. It doesn't exist in isolation. truth is not just about what you say, it's also about who is listening. You can hold the most powerful, life-changing truth in your hands, but if you offer it to someone who isn't ready, someone whose heart is closed, someone who clings to comfort more than growth, that truth becomes useless. In fact, it can even become harmful. Not every soul is fertile ground. Not every person is open to seeing beyond their own limited perspective. Many people are trapped inside mental cages built from fear, pride, trauma, and years of unconscious conditioning. When you speak a truth that challenges those cages, their first reaction won't be gratitude. It will be defense. They'll reject it, mock it, twist it, or worse, they'll pretend to listen while silently hardening against you. And this can be deeply painful, especially when your intention was pure. You might speak with the hope of helping someone, wanting to free them from their suffering, wanting to wake them up to something that changed your life. But instead of appreciation, you're met with judgment or silence. That's because truth, no matter how pure or healing, cannot penetrate a closed heart. It cannot enter a mind that has already decided it knows everything, and it will never be embraced by someone whose identity is built on illusion. So what happens when you speak your truth to the wrong person? It gets discarded like noise. It loses its sacredness. What once felt divine and profound inside your soul gets tossed aside like meaningless words. And in that moment, you'll feel unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. Not because your truth is wrong, but because the audience was wrong. There's a reason wise people speak less and listen more. They don't waste their breath trying to plant seeds in soil that won't accept them. They observe. They wait. They sense who is truly listening and who is simply waiting to speak. They understand that timing, readiness, and the emotional state of the other person matter just as much as the truth itself. This is why some of the most powerful teachings in history were hidden in riddles, parables, or silence. Not because the teachers were vague, but because they knew the lesson could only be received by those who were truly ready. They weren't interested in being popular. They were interested in being effective. And effectiveness means knowing where and when to speak and when not to. Don't cast pearls before swine. Don't reveal your gold to someone who sees only dirt. Your truth is valuable. It took years of struggle, pain, reflection, and transformation to earn it. Don't throw it at people who will treat it like gossip or debate. Save it for those rare souls who truly want to understand, not out of curiosity, but out of sincerity. And if you don't find those souls right now, that's okay. You don't need an audience to validate what you know. Let your truth shape your life quietly. Let it speak through your discipline, your presence, your actions. Let it live in the way you carry yourself, not in the words you throw into the wind. Because when spoken at the wrong time, to the wrong person, even the highest truth becomes noise. But when guarded until the right moment, it becomes transformation. Protect your voice, protect your wisdom, and never forget, truth is not always meant to be heard. Sometimes its greatest power lies in being felt through silence. 5. The more you speak, the more you leak your power. There's a hidden cost to constant talking that most people never realize until it's too late. Every word you speak is energy leaving your body. Every explanation you give, every argument you engage in, every update you offer about your life. Those things don't just take time. They take spiritual fuel. They drain you in ways you can't see. And the more you talk, especially about things that are sacred, the more you give others a piece of your energy until eventually you feel empty, scattered, and weak. In a world that teaches us to overshare, to constantly express ourselves, to talk through every thought and feeling the moment it arises, we've forgotten the value of silence. We've forgotten how to hold power quietly, how to let our energy build within us instead of spilling it into conversations that go nowhere. There is great strength in knowing when not to speak. There is wisdom in learning that your energy is not for everyone, and your truth is not meant for every room. People who always feel the need to explain themselves are often the ones who feel misunderstood, insecure, or ungrounded. They talk because they fear being invisible. But here's the paradox. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less likely you are to do it. The more you announce your goals, your inner work, your journey, the more you invite energy that doesn't belong in your process. Every time you speak about what you're becoming, you open the door for other people's doubt, judgment, jealousy, or opinions to enter a space that was meant to be sacred. And it's not just about others, it's about yourself. When you speak too much, you begin to lose the intensity of your own focus. You start to perform rather than transform. You turn your path into a public display instead of a private devotion. You trade depth for attention, and attention is never a substitute for real power. True warriors, those who master themselves, don't speak to impress. They don't talk just to be seen. They don't explain themselves to people who haven't earned the right to listen. Instead, they let their silence build pressure. They let their presence say everything that words cannot. They conserve their energy like fire, only releasing it when it serves purpose. They don't tell the world they're changing. They show the world through how they live. And the people who notice, they're the ones who matter. Because the people who truly understand you don't need constant explanations. They don't need to be told what you're doing or why. They can feel it. They can sense the shift. And those who don't understand, no amount of words will ever convince them. So ask yourself this: how much energy are you wasting trying to be understood? How many times have you talked yourself out of your own strength by over-explaining, oversharing, over-talking? How many times have you weakened a powerful realization by rushing to speak it before you had time to live it? If you want to become untouchable, if you want to build a level of inner strength that cannot be shaken, start by mastering your mouth. Speak less, listen more. Share your truth only with people who have proven they are worthy of it. And most of all, let your actions speak so loudly that your words become unnecessary. Because the more you speak, the more you leak. But the more you hold, the more you build. And when your power is fully built, you won't have to say a single word. The world will feel it. 6. Some truths are keys meant only for you. Not every truth you discover is meant to be shared. Some truths are not general advice. They're not slogans or inspirational quotes for the world to hear. They are sacred. They are personal. They are crafted by your pain, shaped by your solitude, and revealed to you in moments so deep that even words fail to describe them. These kinds of truths don't come from books. They come from the fire you've walked through, the nights you cried with no one watching, the storms that shattered your old self and forced you to rebuild from nothing. And because of that, these truths are yours. They are keys that fit only your locks. They open the doors that no one else sees but you. And when you try to hand them to someone else, when you try to explain them, share them, or preach them, most of the time, they simply won't fit. Because those people didn't walk your path. They didn't bleed with your wounds. They didn't suffer the same darkness to earn that understanding, so the truth that saved you might mean nothing to them. Or worse, they might reject it. They might laugh at it. They might label it delusional, emotional, or extreme, not because it's false, but because it doesn't match their experience. That's where the pain sets in, when something that feels sacred to you is treated like noise by others. When you finally find a deep realization that helps you heal or change your life, you want to share it. That's natural. You want others to feel the light you felt. But you must be careful, because if you share it with the wrong person, someone who isn't ready, someone who lacks depth, someone who doesn't understand the language of healing, they will not receive your truth. They'll distort it, or worse, they'll damage it. Some truths are not meant to be spoken, they are meant to be lived. You don't need to convince others of your growth. You don't need to explain what you've become. The right people will see it in your silence, in the way you walk, in the way you protect your energy, in the way your old self no longer reacts to the same chaos. And the ones who don't see it, that's fine. You don't owe them understanding. The more personal your truth is, the more carefully it must be guarded. When something is sacred, you don't place it in the open for anyone to touch. You protect it, you treasure it, you give it room to grow inside you until it becomes part of your being. And when it's fully integrated, you don't need to explain it anymore, because by then, it's written in your posture, your silence, your standards, your decisions. Sometimes the deepest truths aren't loud. They whisper, they move through you without making a sound. They guide your choices, shape your boundaries, and align you with peace, not because you talked about them, but because you lived them fully. So the next time you discover something that changes you, pause, sit sit with it. Let it marinate in your soul. Let it break you open and rebuild you slowly. Don't rush to announce it. Don't dilute it by turning it into a conversation piece. Let it be your secret medicine. Let it become your inner strength. Because some truths are not for teaching, they are for transforming, and transformation does not always need an audience. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep that truth to yourself, not out of fear, but out of deep respect for what it truly is, a key meant only for you. 7. Silence is the final form of mastery. There comes a point in your journey when you realize that silence isn't just the absence of noise, it is the presence of power. It's not emptiness, it's not weakness, it is in fact the final form of strength. The ultimate stage of self-mastery is not when you speak louder than everyone else. It's not when you dominate debates, impress people with your knowledge, or announce your transformation to the world. The highest form of mastery is when you no longer need to speak to be understood. When your energy, your presence, your gaze say everything your voice never could. In the beginning, you may feel the urge to talk about everything you're learning. When the truth first wakes you up, it feels like fire inside your chest, and you want to share it with anyone who will listen. You want to tell the world what you've discovered, what you now see, what others are still blind to. This is natural, but it's also a trap. Because when you start using words to validate your growth, you're still seeking something outside yourself. You're still trying to prove your worth, to explain your identity, to win approval. But as you evolve, something shifts. You no longer need applause. You no longer chase agreement. You stop trying to convince people to understand you, not because you've given up, but because you've outgrown the need to be seen by those who never saw you to begin with. You start to see that the most powerful people in any room are usually the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have mastered the art of saying only what matters. Their silence isn't awkward, it's deliberate, it's controlled. It comes from a place of depth, of inner knowing, of self-respect. They are not rushed to speak because they're not fighting to prove anything. They've already made peace with who they are, and they don't need the world to echo it back. This kind of silence doesn't come easily. It is forged in fire. It is earned through years of being misunderstood, judged, doubted, and dismissed. It's built from the pain of explaining yourself too many times to the wrong people. It grows when you realize that no matter how pure your words are, some people will never hear you. So instead, you stop giving them that power, you reclaim it, and in that quiet reclamation, something incredible happens. Your silence becomes louder than your voice ever was. Because silence doesn't just protect your energy, it commands respect. It makes people curious. It makes them feel something they can't explain. A person who walks into a room with calm, grounded silence, no need to perform, no need to speak unless it's necessary, that person holds real power. Not power over others, but power over themselves. You begin to respond less. You stop reacting to every insult, every challenge, every misunderstanding, not because you're passive, but because you've learned that your peace is worth more than your ego. You realize that most arguments are not about truth, they're about control, and you refuse to be pulled into battles where the goal is not growth, but dominance. You stop oversharing. You no longer feel the need to post your every move, explain your decisions, or update people on your healing. Your path becomes private, not because you're hiding, but because it's sacred. Your silence is your boundary. It separates the external noise from your internal truth. It shields your progress from being polluted by outside energy. You speak when it's time. You speak when your words are aligned with your purpose. But otherwise, you let your stillness speak. You let your choices speak. You let your life speak. This is true mastery. This is the level where you are no longer controlled by reaction, where you are no longer leaking your energy in every conversation, where you are no longer disturbed by what others think of your silence because you know what your silence is doing. It's protecting your power. It's building your spirit. It's speaking in a language only the wise can hear. You start to recognize that those who understand the most often say the least, because when you truly know something, you don't rush to announce it. You live it. You let it settle so deeply in your being that it becomes part of your nature. And so you become like the mountain, still, grounded, unmoved by the chaos around it. You become like the ocean, calm on the surface, yet holding tremendous depth beneath. You become like the master, unshaken, unbothered, unchained. Because real strength doesn't need to shout. Real wisdom doesn't need to argue. Real truth doesn't beg to be heard. It simply is. So let your silence speak. Let your stillness teach. Let your discipline radiate. Don't waste your breath where your presence is more powerful. Don't explain yourself to those who listen only to respond. Don't lower your vibration to be understood by people who have no intention of understanding you in the first place. Walk in silence, not to disappear, but to become undeniable. Because when you've mastered yourself, you no longer need to be loud. Your life becomes your language, and silence becomes your roar. The truth is not always meant to be spoken. Some truths are like fire, brilliant, fierce, but dangerous if handled carelessly. They are not for the world. They are for the warrior, for the one who trains in silence, who bleeds behind closed doors, who becomes something unshakable without the need for applause. The world we live in doesn't reward deep truth. It punishes it, it mocks it, it fears it. So if you've discovered something powerful, something that woke you up, shifted your soul, and gave you clarity, don't rush to speak it. Don't hand it out like spare change. Don't announce it to those who won't understand it. Let it grow in your silence. Let it build pressure in your bones. Let it sharpen your movements, guide your decisions, and shape your presence. Because the moment you speak it to the wrong person, in the wrong place, at the wrong time, you weaken it. And what was once sacred becomes noise. Learn this. Your energy is precious. Your truth is sacred. Your silence is your sword. Speak only when silence would betray you. Move only when the stillness is no longer enough. Reveal only what the moment demands. Because the one who learns to stay quiet while building becomes the one the world can't ignore when they rise. Remember this. A lion never roars in every moment, but when it does, the entire jungle listens. Be that lion. Train in silence. Grow in silence. Win in silence. And let your silence become the storm they never saw coming.